All right, friends, welcome to the shop for another Old Shovel custom bike builds video. I've got a good one in line for you today. As promised, we're doing a themed one today, focusing in on your submitted GT bikes. So for those that don't know, recent news, Pawn Holdings, which is the owner of GT Bikes, has chosen to put the brand on hold, and they are phasing out the brand or selling out their current inventory without any current plans to continue. Pausing is the word that they've used. And I put out to all of you, I put a little news about this and then also asked for you to submit, as part of my custom bike builds videos, submit your GT custom bike builds so that I could highlight some of those. And you guys responded resoundingly saying, we're not gonna pause on these GT bikes. And GT bikes are here to stay. That's the message I heard from you all. And so what we're gonna do, just to do a brief highlight, again, I'm reviewing your custom bike builds that you've submitted to the link that I have in the description below. And today is all about GT. So let's get into it. I got so many, it was really hard to choose. I tried to choose some diverse bikes that were submitted. I got quite a few, and it was not easy to decide what I wanted to share, so I've narrowed it down to 5 this week. Normally I only do 4, but I decided to do 5 today. So first up is a bike submitted by Phil, and this was submitted early on in my request for submissions. And Phil, you can find him at Initial P Photography. So Phil, I like the title. For those that are car guys, it's a cool title. So Phil says this about his bike. It's a 1995 GT LTS3. I bought this as a frame only and built it up from the ground up. It was the first bike I had built up myself in over 20 years. So this is what he's got on it. It's a GT LTS3 frame, resprayed NATO green. So kudos on painting it yourself. A Marzocchi Bomber Z1 fork. Now this fork, I'm gonna zero in on this. This fork is just sweet. So I have one of these waiting for a build that's coming up that I've been putting off for a while. A Z1, these were some of groundbreaking shocks from Marzocchi. This proved to the world that you could have super, super plush forks. And these Z1 bombers are just awesome, awesome, awesome. And if you look really closely here, you can see that they're set up for dual discs. So when disc brakes were still kind of new and they were figuring them out, I mean, this is the mid-90s we're talking about. I mean, your front brakes are the brakes that you really want that stopping power. And one of the solutions that folks were looking at is having dual disc brakes. So brakes on both sides of the fork on the front of the wheel. Super, super cool idea. Really, really hard to find some hubs that can run those dual disc brakes. I don't know if I could find some. If I do my build, that would be super cool. So Marzocchi Bomber Z1 forks, Bontrager wheels with red rims, and NOS Bontrager tires, which is super cool. I like the details of the red and the NATO green. Looks gray almost. NATO green, maybe NATO green is gray. Some Shimano DXV brakes and levers. Yes, the red ones, he says, which looks cool. Goes along with that red combo going on. The IXF 1x front chainring and cranks in red. Those are sweet cranks that you can get for a really good price on Amazon. A SRAM X9 9-speed derailleur and shifter. GT saddle, which is cool, keeping it on brand, and it's got those red accents there. Azonic double wall red riser bars. Again, super cool. And Azonic shorty stem. So, Phil, I really like this bike. I really like, not only did you paint it NATO green, I like the GT stickers that you put on it to accent it, and kind of that World War II fighter bomber style that you've got with the shark's mouth, eyes, and just a really, really sweet build. So this was a great way to start off this GT Tribute custom bike build. Really, really nice bike, really cool parts. That bomber fork is the bomb and goes on along with the bomber theme on the bike also. Super cool, thank you. All right, next up we have a bike from Tyler. And Tyler's bike, I really like this. So I almost bought one of these Taleras a month or so ago. There were 3 of them at the thrift store. If you haven't seen, I shared it in a short and a reel. Yeah, 3 of them at the shop. Well, 3 of them at the thrift store at the same time. And I looked at them and really, I got really close to buying one of them, but didn't. I really like this style of frame and kind of the towny feel of it. And this is what Tyler has to say about his bike. It's a 1992 GT Talera Mixie with a galaxy-looking paint job. GT had awesome paint jobs in those early 90s. They just did crazy on all models. It was just, they had just some cool paint jobs. I found it last summer with crunchy tires, snapped cables, a gross gel saddle, and a collapsed elastomer fork. I got lucky and found an original fork on eBay and ordered it that same night. That's commitment. It's mostly the original Xizang 300 drivetrain, even the original Biopace chain rings. Now, those that don't know, Biopace chain rings were ovalized also. Oval is has been the rage the last few years also, with the idea of making that pedal stroke, the rotations more efficient. So Biopace, the original oval chain rings. The combination of the tangy steel frame and the smooth tires makes this a great cruiser. I love this bike, Tyler. And like I said, I almost bought one of these early 90 GT mountain bikes. They had awesome paint jobs. And the combination of this awesome paint job and, as you call it, Tyler, the galaxy-looking paint job, really cool paint job, and the step-through design just make these great, like, towny cruiser bikes. So I love this. When I saw it, I was like, I need to include this one. As soon as it was submitted, I'm like, this is in all the way. I really like the Goodyear tires. The tan sidewalls really complements the bike and really complements that towny feel. Let's see what he says he's got on it. He's got Jaguar cables. The purple cables, which is super cool also, really accents against that blue. Goodyear Wingfoot Park tires, like I said, really makes that towny cruiser feel perfect. Shimano BBUN 300 sealed bottom bracket, which that might be an upgrade, I'm not sure. A lot of those earlier 90s were not sealed bottom brackets and got rusty and crunchy. So that may be a really nice upgrade. The Bontrager saddle, definitely an upgrade from the gel saddle that you said was on there. Spank grips and Dimension riser handlebar. So the riser handlebar, already with that really steep riser stem, I think just puts it into that cruiser feel that Tyler was going for here. So beautiful bike, beautiful time capsule from the early 90s. Thank you, Tyler, for submitting your GT Talera. Super cool. All right, next up is a dream bike of mine. One that I don't have in my collection. Well, there's a lot of bikes I don't have in my collection that I want, but this is one of them. This is Jordan's GT Xizang. And I know there's hard, I'm hoping I say that right. I always call them Xizangs, Xizang or Xizang or whatever. It's spelt funny, but you can see Jordan on Instagram. I'll put his at ratbaby with underscores before and after. Super cool GT Xizang. And this is what Jordan says about his bike. I found this 1997 GT Xizang at the Bicycle Collective when I was an employee there. I actually know Jordan. He's a sweet guy. He was one of the mechanics there. The person who donated it had raced it in the 90s and early 2000s, but has turned it into a single-speed commuter in recent years. It had clapped wheels, a seized fork, and narrow handlebars. Ooh. I spent about a year tracking down parts and having some custom bits made. I'm still not 100% done. A discerning eye might notice that the sewn dynamo isn't hooked up at the light. I've already ripped it around town a lot and taken it on a 3-day bike tour near St. George. I don't think I will ever build a 90s mountain bike like this again. Maybe I peaked too early. So, Jordan, this is a beautiful, beautiful titanium GT Xizang. And just looking at it before I read the parts, it's got so many sweet things going on this bike. I love the beautiful, clean titanium frame. No hype going on, just beautiful raw titanium. This is what he says he's got on it. I had Matt Nelson of Saltaire Cycles build me a custom rigid fork with eyelets for racks and bags. So that by itself, Matt Nelson is the frame builder who is behind Saltaire Cycles here locally in Utah. And he builds some awesome, awesome custom bikes. And it's sweet that Jordan got a custom-made rigid front fork for it. He's got custom wheels, a Real Components vintage hub, Son Dynamo laced to Velocity cliffhangers. Wheels are wearing some nice Simworks tires. It's got 11-speed XT mountain group, Gabarant chainring on a vintage XTR M950 crank, Paul component brake levers and V-brakes. There's just a lot of candy on this bike. Simworks stem, Doom titanium handlebars, Dean tie seat post, in brackets he says recently replaced because some vintage parts don't hold up. That's kind of a bummer. Kawa Designs Works custom baggies. Last but not least, a Simworks titanium headset spacer that cost way too much money. So Jordan, thank you for sharing this bike with us. Really, this is a dream bike build for a lot of us. One off, a beautiful GT frame, but not only that, this is the pinnacle of GT frames, the GT Xizang in titanium. And then all of the extra titanium bits that you have, one that you have a custom rack made, one that it's running probably the most beautiful XT crank, the most beautiful XTR cranks that ever came out, and then having that custom chainring on it, the Paul component brakes, front and rear, levers. Looks like you didn't list it, but a Chris King headset in kind of a nice gray. That actually might be a faded black. But just beautiful, beautiful stem, clean lines, titanium bars. I'm curious what this would weigh, what this weighs as a bike itself. But this, when we talk about heritage bikes or heirloom quality bikes, things that this bike will last longer than most of us. I see this lasting another plus 100 years. It's really just heirloom quality, beautiful bike, beautifully built frame. The welds on it are beautiful. Titanium is just something else out there. I personally don't have any titanium bikes. It's much needed. I'm perhaps too cheap, but this is one. Like I mentioned, I know Jordan. I remember him building this up when he worked at the Bicycle Collective. Just an awesome, awesome guy. Awesome bike. Thank you, Jordan, for sharing your Grail bike with us. So next up is a bike from Steven, and Steven has shared with us his GT Timberline. It's a 90s GT Timberline that has some interesting modifications. Again, it's got those early 90s GT paint jobs on it. This white with black kind of lines on it was one of those iconic GT paint jobs that are just very memorable. I love the Timberline graphics on it. It's just a cool, cool bike. And this is what he has to say about his. He is also on Instagram. I'll put his details up here. This is a 90s GT Timberline, not sure what year exactly. I wish I had the original fork and stem. Always on the hunt. Converted to single speed for gravel / commute / whatever. And what he's done on it, he removed 2 chain rings to make it a 1x single speed conversion on the rear. Wider Maxxis tires, alt-ish handlebars that are nice and upright. What's unique on this, again, he made this single speed, which is cool. He's got a chain tensioner on there to make it so that he keeps that chain tensioned. It's just a cool build. It's got the cool retro U-brakes, which puts this probably early 90s. Those U-brakes, GT kind of used them quite a bit and maybe a little longer than most, but they kind of came out in about 1987 and continued in use probably, I would guess, I'm not sure, maybe some of you know, but I don't think they were in use really past 1992. So I'm guessing this frame is probably somewhere in that range. I haven't looked it up. Probably could look it up and find it on Retro Bike or somewhere. He's got the GT XC going on front. I agree, this would be really cool, especially for some of the commuter gravel that you're doing, to have the original chromoly fork or a chromoly fork that matches with that cool white paint job. Would be cool. At the same time, your GT XC, which looks like it's probably 99, 2000, somewhere in there. It doesn't look out of place. It looks good. Those are fairly robust forks. Nothing super special, but it will soften off some of the bumps. I like the sweeping handlebars. Looks like some ergon grips, a WTB saddle. Just some really cool bits. I like the handlebar bag that you've got on it. It's nice and clean and subtle also. So cool, cool build, Steven. Thank you for sharing it with us. And I really like the 1x setup. When you ride, for those that haven't done like a single speed setup on your bike, at least for me, I grew up riding BMX bikes as a kid and riding the single speeds with a coaster brake. And there's something magical about the simplicity of a single gear, single speed. No shifters to complicate things, and you just have this sense of freedom. Again, thank you, Stephen. So that's 4 bikes so far. Next up is a bike from Lionel. This one's just a cool one, and I really liked what Lionel had to say about his GT. This is a lot newer GT than most of the ones that we've looked at, and it's a 29er, which puts it in that new category. 29ers, there were a few pioneers in 29ers in the late 90s, early 2000s. Gary Fisher really was a big one who made 29ers happen. And this one still is fairly early in that 29. This was in an era when people were still testing out the waters for 29ers. And this is what Lionel has to say about his. I bought this bike in 2014 or 2015, new. It's a 29 GT Karakoram Elite 2014. I use it every day to commute, plus the rest of the time for leisure. In 2020, I was thinking about getting more into mountain biking, and I was looking to buy a new bike for my 50s birthday. Awesome, we're around the same age. I was hesitating because my bike was still fine, and I was always concerned about sustainability. I saw your videos and some others and decided to improve my bike instead. It's one of the last GTs before the Walmart era, with still a very obvious triple triangle and a good quality build. It was still with a straight head tube and QR axles, so I could find new parts for a good price since everyone was into new standards. I think this generation of GT is, at the moment, a bit underrated and worthy to save. And I totally agree, Lionel. I really think, one, this GT still looks very much like those 90s GTs. It's got the same layout. It's the same triple triangle. It reminds me of a 90s Zaskar. It's a really, really beautiful Karakoram in the 29-inch wheels. Very much agree. It is very underrated and worthy to save. This is what he's got on it. Mavic Crossmac wheels, Shimano MT 520, 4-piston, 180 front and 160 back. 1x10 Dior 32 front, 11 to 48 micro shift in the back. Plus 1.5 degree works component angle set. Manitou Marcor 120 millimeter and ABS plus damper fork, dropper with external routing. So like he mentioned that as opposed to upgrading and getting a new bike, he wanted to make a few changes. And some of them that are interesting here, which I really like, and this is similar to what I did on my Gary Fisher Hi-Fi Pro. He has an angle set. So it's for the headset. So it's a headset that shifts the angle by 1.5 degrees. So it's the 1.5 degree works components angle set. And it's a headset that changes the degree of the front fork and makes it so it rides with that more modern slack geometry. I really like that he did this. It's some of those changes that really make some of these older bikes more rideable on technical and difficult terrain. And with the 29-inch wheels, this bike is probably fairly capable, and that change in the head angle probably makes the bike a lot more stable. It lengthens the wheelbase slightly and adds some stability that I think it's really cool. Really cool upgrade and change. I really like the change to the Dior 10-speed drivetrain using that microshift rear cassette. 11 to 42 with a 32 front chainring is just a really nice optimal mountain biking range. This is a very capable, cool build. I really like what you've done. I also, like I mentioned, this does look like an older 90s 26-inch wheeled GT. I love the simple GT graphics on the Karakoram. It's just a beautiful bike. It's got the beautiful lines of those 90s GTs, and I totally agree, Lionel. These bikes from this era are totally underrated. So that's all 5 bikes. Which one is my favorite? This one was difficult. As the submissions were coming in and I was seeing everyone's GTs, I have the benefit of looking at everything that you've all submitted. I actually debated showing like all of the GTs that have been submitted, but I knew that would make this video a little too long. But I've been geeking out on seeing all the things that you guys do. And as these bikes came in, when I saw Phil's bike, I loved what he did. Seeing Steve's bike. When it comes down to it though, when I look at all of these, the bike that I would dream to have the most and the one that makes me drool the most is the Xizang. And Jordan's build on it, not just the frame, but his build is full of so many sweet pieces that all of us tinkerers out there could just aspire to have a bike like this. And so Jordan, you will be getting an old shovel hat coming your way. I will reach out to you and we'll get you that hat as soon as possible. Thank you all for submitting your bikes for review and for sharing them with us so that we can see all the awesome things that you've done on your bikes. So for those that don't know, if this is the first time seeing one of my custom bike build videos, there's a link in the description that will take you to a form where you can submit your custom bike builds, and they could be highlighted on a future video. It's a single database, so you just have to submit your bike once. I'm pulling from those occasionally. I'm trying to do it most Thursdays, so look for your video on Thursdays. There'll probably be a few times I'll miss Thursdays, but since it's been so well received and you guys have been sending so many awesome bikes, I want to get it to as many as I can. So submit your bikes in the description below and they could make it on a future video. And I will choose then one bike that I will send a gift to. And this week's gift is another old shovel hat. And so yeah, this will be going out to Jordan. And thank you again for following along. If you haven't already, don't forget to like in the video. Tell me what you think of these builds in the description. And subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, look for opportunities to give those old things new life. And I will see you on the next video. Ciao. Oh, Jordan, your Xizang is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So many cool GT bikes that are out there. I wish I could have highlighted them all. Ciao.